Hi everybody, I'm Ross Cessna. As she said, I'm an addict and I also have bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and codependency issues. I'd like to start out with a couple quotes. If I make a fool of myself, who cares? I'm not frightened by anyone's perception of me. And that was Angelina Jolie that said that. The next one is, we can have skills training and mindfulness so that we are using our attention to perceive something in the present moment. This perception is not so latent by fears or projections into the future or old habits, and then I can actually stir loving kindness or compassion in skills training too, which can be sort of proactive, I've found. And that was said by Sharon Salzberg. One of my earliest memories as a child was a dream that I had, and I was in an uncontrolled car. I was sitting in the back seat, and I wasn't able to grab the steering wheel, and it was a reoccurring nightmare I had throughout my life. And that was really relative to my experience with addiction and mental illness. I had a rough childhood, as I don't assume anybody has an idyllic childhood, really. I mean, there's good moments in it. There was a lot of uncomfortable situations in it as well. And there was, looking back, a lot of indicators of my mental illness and my addictive personality that was present at a very early age. My parents divorced, and those things progressively made me disconnect from who I was growing up, and it also brought me to my first experience with the police eventually, which was getting arrested in 6th grade for vandalism. I had issues sleeping, so I snuck out and I vandalized things, which really wasn't me in any way. And as I got older, I had more experiences with the police. And the thing with those early experiences was I was never treated with respect or dignity. So it made it very difficult for me initially to respect the police, because respect is something that's reciprocated, and in order to respect somebody, you need to show them respect, and they need to show you respect as well. So as I got older, my experiences with police changed. I was given more respect over time, and surprisingly enough, I started to respect police officers more when they respected me, when they treated me like a human being, not just some punk or not just some drug addict or those things. I, believe it or not, started to see them as actual people, not just a badge and not just this authoritative figure. When I really started to get deep into my mental illness, I was psychotic. Psychosis is a very terrifying thing. Fortunately for me, I've never been a violent person by any means. Violence is not in my nature. I'm not built for violence. If you look at my structure, these little arms aren't going to do much damage. But when I was arrested, when I was picked up for my mental illness, I was psychotic, and I was walking down the side of the road. And the police officers that stopped me were trying to understand who I was, and I didn't even know my name at that point because I was so disconnected from reality. I thought I was Jack Johnson, the musician. And when they were taking me to the psych ward, I thought that they were taking me to some place that was going to take me off planet and get me to the where real humans were, or where the higher level people were, because I was so disturbed by the way our culture is and by the way that they treat people that it was hard for me to accept that in this reality and the way that people treat each other was the real reality, because I see so much violence and hate and anger and disrespect that it was hard to understand how that was reality. My mental illness really held me in a negative space for a long time after I got out of the psych ward, because I never thought that I would be normal. I never thought I would be comfortable. I never thought that I would not be psychotic anymore. I always thought that I would be crazy. I always thought that people would always judge me. I always thought that people would always look down on my experiences, and I never thought that I would be able to feel comfortable in my own skin again or make any sense of any of those things. Thankfully, over time, my perception of those situations changed to where the things that were some of the most damaging situations in my life and some of the worst experiences I had ever encountered actually became to be my greatest gifts and some of the best blessings I ever had. My addiction, my mental illness, all of those things, because the quality of life and understanding that I've gotten from those things is so substantial. I can take appreciation in such minute things that so many people take for granted. And being 32 years old, there's things that most people my age have no respect for, no appreciation for, or just their view of other people is so diluted that they're missing out on the key elements of life. One thing that I've realized in my recovery is that when you're judging somebody else, your judgment of that person is not relative to that person, it's relative to your own internal dialogue. So if somebody perceives me as negative things, they do these things to build themselves up because they need to feel better than, or think that they're more than, when in reality, we're all equal. Everybody here is on the same footing. I mean, we're all standing on the same level ground. If nobody's above me, look at your shoes. And that's such a great understanding to have, because I have respect for every single person here. I have love for all of you here, even though I've never met you. I appreciate what all of you do, even though I don't see you in action. You play a crucial role in society, and with that role comes a great responsibility, as you all already know. My recovery really started about 42 days to this date, because it's when I actually got sober. I had stopped drinking basically about 2 years ago, but I was still smoking pot, and I never realized how much that affected me, because I was always under the assumption that it was safer than alcohol. And it may be in some capacities, but it's also very dangerous in some ways because it's subversively dangerous. For me, the way that it interacted with my medication and the way that it interacted with my diagnosis, or my diagnoses, I never realized it until I got sober. Everybody would tell me how pot caused paranoia, how it could increase my psychosis, how it could make these instances worse. I was too ignorant and arrogant to understand those concepts then, but I'm grateful that I did now, because 7 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been able to be up here. I would have been terrified, I would have been petrified, and now I'm actually just grateful that I'm able to do those things. And I just got back from going to Humboldt County, California and Oregon, where I could have smoked all the weed that I wanted to, but I wouldn't trade that momentary buzz for the inner peace I have now, for the inner strength that I have now, or any of those instances. My recovery is substantially important to me, and with my experiences, I feel that I have a crucial role in reducing stigma for other people, making other people feel like I've never felt, so people don't have to feel like I felt when I got out of the psych ward, and to make people in other positions understand that people in those situations, they don't want to act that way. There's a chemical imbalance causing them to react in a certain way, and people have their own responsibility to not be reactive and to treat them as human beings, not to treat them as people with mental illnesses or just worthless drug addicts, or view them as less than, because by no means they're not. I wrote a poem to explain my psychosis, because trying to explain something so illogical logically is impossible. The soft caressing touch of your lover turned into the frantic search for alien implants, leaving the safety of a familiar face and seeing them as evil tormentors, shopping at a grocery store for dinner, leaving too much change and grandiosity, the person behind commenting on your generosity, an alien intent on your abuse, walking to relieve your tension, and the people asking directions, running a test to see if you came out of your experience calibrated to work positivity and carry their message, attempting to write songs as an escape, only to believe your lyrics unleashed the devil, thinking that my soul was being extinguished because my sins were unfathomable, believing all my experiences were controlled by external puppet masters, gambling away the earth only to proceed and gamble away the universe, thinking my life was a reality show hit with hidden cameras for the intent of celebrities, assuming that the earth was destroyed and I was recreated with the intent of acting as a character in a museum as a testament to the one who ended the world. And those aren't just metaphors, those are things that I legitimately, quite literally, believed. And with where I'm at today, I can recognize those as my illness. And that would be terrifying for most people to believe those things or express those things, but I'm grateful that I have the courage to express those things and talk about them, and I'm grateful that I experienced those things, because my understanding of reality and perception and other people is so much different for having experienced those. Because when I see somebody being negative towards somebody or putting somebody down, I see a sick person. Because nobody would want to treat anybody with disrespect if they're well and if they felt good about themselves, because there's no reason to treat anybody with disrespect unless you don't respect yourself. And my final quote that I'd like to end with is, "I have no right by anything I do or say to demean a human being in his own eyes. What matters is not what I think of him, it is what he thinks of himself. To undermine a man's self-respect is a sin." And that was said by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I tried to practice that before, but I messed it up. If anybody has any quick questions, I can answer them real quick. And if not, thank you for your time and your attention. I appreciate the opportunity.
This is Ross's second experience talking to a room full of